Hello and welcome to another Spotlight interview series. Today I am super excited to introduce you to Maiya Holliday. Welcome to the Spotlight, Maiya.
Hi, Willow. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy to be introducing you to everyone because I've just loved working with you. And it's now been like a year and a half, probably almost 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And we first started working together as you were a VIP client of mine, one-on-one. And our mutual friend introduced us when she heard that you were in the business. So actually, even before we dive in, please tell everyone what you're up to in the world and what your business is.
Sure. So I run a small web development company. I'm based in Truckee, California, and moving from the Bay Area, California, between there and Truckee, and then have a team of 9, and we do website development for small to medium businesses. We do a lot of custom WordPress development, design and coding, and web strategies, and some SEO and other related services as well.
Yeah, awesome. And in particular, I think it's important to mention that, while you do work with a lot of people, I think that you really focus on working with very purpose-driven companies, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. We try to work with purpose-driven organizations as much as we can. I actually come from an international development background and got into website development. Kind of never looked back, but that's always informed the way that we look for clients and the way that we do business. And we actually recently became a B Corp in November of this past year, and that has kind of settled us into this niche of like-minded businesses that has been really great as well. So we work with a range of clients, but really try to focus on the purpose-driven organizations as much as we can.
Yeah, awesome. So I would love to hear, if you can think back to when we started working together. It's 2017 now, and when we first started working together, it was 2015. And share with everyone like where you were in your business and kind of what was calling you to look to hire a business coach at the time.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember sort of what our team looked like then, and you might actually remember better than I do. But I was definitely at that time doing most of the development, most of the coding. I was spending a good portion of my time actually doing the work for clients, and had, I think, maybe one or two other developers working with me and an admin assistant. And I had heard from a friend who's a business coach, who's the one who connected me to Willow, that I'd heard her speak about her own work as a business coach, and just was interested in understanding more about how that could serve me where I was, kind of figure out what I wanted to growing my business, where I would head next. And I chatted with her, and she said, since you do tech and creative services, you should talk to Willow. She's a fantastic business coach, and she has a lot of experience right up your alley. So I reached out and chatted, and it seemed like a good fit. So we started working together and kind of exploring what next steps I could take.
Yeah. And so that was really fun too, because, I do recall that's like probably one of the biggest things that, certainly we could say now, a year and a half, 2 years in, it's shifted, which we can get into in a second. But, in that initial time, in terms of even like some of the challenges that I recall as well, like there was both team and kind of that scaling and growth. And you tell me, like, and you can definitely lump it in, but as I said, just so everyone knows, and then we can kind of just talk about this entire arc of our working together, is that, first you started working with me one-on-one as a VIP client, and then also then joined on this small group coaching program last year, which is a year-long program. So we can speak to that in a second, but if you even share kind of like in this arc of time, in like the year and a half, 2 years, where you were in the beginning in your business and what were some of the challenges, and then, what you see now and where it is now. So take them through kind of that process.
Yeah. So we worked one-on-one together for about a year. And then I think we did a year of the group. So I think we have worked together for a good 2 years now. Yeah. And one of the things that I remember speaking about in the beginning was figuring out, or trying to figure out what the next steps of growth were. I had an assistant working with me like 10 hours a week. I think I just hired on these 2 developers who are working with me both part-time, who are still subcontractors and are a really core part of our team. And I was doing, we were getting busier. I was still doing a lot of the coding and feeling like the natural progression that I knew needed to happen in my business was that I kind of stepped into a different role and was trying to figure out how exactly that might happen. And so one of the things that we focused on in the early days was developing a lot of standard operating procedures, just kind of doing a whole brain dump of whatever I was doing day to day, both in managing the business and in, managing projects and clients, and just documenting what all of that looked like, what all those processes meant to me and how I wanted the business to run.
Yeah, and out of your head too, because you were sort of had everything up here, which kept you so in the business all the time. And as you started growing and you started having more team members, you really needed to start working on the business. And I think you knew that, but that was kind of the thing that we like joke about now, was like how hard it was for you to kind of like, not even from a control
out of it
point of view, but like also, and I think this is really poignant for so many that start as the like frontline technician in their business, which is that it's actually really satisfying. Like you were in this role, like hands-on. So speak to that too.
Yeah, I mean, because I really was enjoying what I was doing. I was busy, and I actually really loved building websites, and I loved, the thought process and gratification of like putting them together and seeing things materialize and check things off my list and all that. And so shifting into a space where I was working on the business more not only meant that I needed to make more time for myself away from doing all the kind of nitty-gritty building stuff, but I also had to shift to focusing on more tasks that were like long tail and just were a little bit more ambiguous and didn't have that like instant gratification of like, yep, done, moving on to the next thing, that refresh the page, that thing works. And then, you feel that rush of accomplishment. It was more like, we need to rebuild our entire website. And that's something that I need to think about who we are as a business and how to position us and who I want to help build this with me and then actually build it. And that was one thing that I remember Willow pushing me on a lot, that I was kind of dragging my heels on, because I mean, and I say this to clients a lot too, like I understand how hard it is to build your own site because we did it. But, Willow, I was feeling like, hey, we've got plenty of work to do. We're busy. Our current site's fine. And Willow really pushed me to get it together and really like put in the hard yards to define those things and move us forward and really like redo our website so that it better represented who we were as a company at that present moment and not 3 years earlier. And I'm really glad that we did. Every time I look at it and think about the type of clients we're working with now and, how it represents our work, it's just so much more on point with what we do and the quality and caliber of what we do than it was before, even though we were keeping plenty busy. So, there were a lot of shifts like that. We this past year made the commitment to become a B Corp. And that was another one of those things that was a lot of work. It took us a good 6+ months to put all the paperwork together. It was a lot of kind of digging into who we are as a business and how we're moving forward and how we're growing. And it was just like, those things where you feel like you did a lot of work, but you get to the end of the day and you're not sure what you actually did. And it's just a really different way of accomplishing things. But when you're running the business, you have to be in charge of those like kind of bigger concepts and those bigger projects and making sure that those move ahead while, the rest of your team is doing the little stuff. And so it was a combination of recalibrating myself to be able to stay in that space of doing the bigger projects and the longer term projects, and also documenting everything and organizing myself such that the rest of my team could help with the rest of the business, and that we could keep staffing up and have support for the rest of the business. So.
Yeah, and that was, I think, a really big piece too, because I remember us talking about this so much, even maybe at the end of the first year a lot, because she would keep getting stuck back into taking care of things because she was so good at it, and it felt so satisfying to like be able to like check those boxes. And the more amorphous but extremely important role that was calling to her was this great little team that she had, and like just even being able to then actually play CEO and founder and make sure that her team is taken care of. And I mean, you even, I feel like, got to exercise the fruits of all that work in that first year by being able to take your team on your first company retreat, right?
Yeah, it was a very mini retreat. We were up here in Truckee actually, but we don't get to see each other that often. Our two kind of main developers at the time, actually at that point, it was just the two developers and our other admin and project manager who wasn't able to join us. But Jonathan lives in Germany. He's actually from California, but married a German woman and moved to Germany. And Taylor lives in LA. So it's actually pretty infrequent that we're all together, and we have Google Hangout calls once a week with the whole team, and it's all 8 or 9 of us on the calls these days, which is really cool. But
8 or 9, right? So that's pretty cool. Back when we were working together, was it just like 3 or 4?
It was 3 or 4 of us. Nice. And now
that's huge. That's so awesome.
We've since added a new admin project manager and 2 new developers. We have a designer that we work with who kind of comes in and out of projects, and an intern. So we have these really fun calls with people all over the world.
That's and so now that you're on the other side of this, and because I'll bet that you probably sort of knew you wanted to go in this direction, but like you were still so like getting hooked in it, right? And I'm so curious to hear, like, now that you're on this other side, first of all, like, would you ever even have dreamed that in 2 years' time you'd have jumped to 9? But then also, like, what have you even learned about like the importance of your having to shift, and like, even speak to like your own becoming as a leader, and that piece of how important that is to shift in order to grow. Yeah.
Well, one of the things that like kind of drove the shift is at some point, when we first started working together, one of the things I knew was at some point in the future was that we would have a family, and that my role as it stood wasn't sustainable the way that I was working, and I was going to need, it was probably the best thing for my business to step back and have more staff. Willow always said to me, you're going to be able to find other people on your team who are better at these things than you are. And
like, shocking and hard to believe because you're pretty awesome.
Yeah. But it's totally true. I'm not the best developer in the world. I don't have time to completely focus on that. Development is changing all the time. And, as we've added developers to our team, like we're always on Slack and we're always chatting, and they're always bringing up new things and all like teaching each other things and working on things. And it's it's really cool to see. So, in a lot of ways, in terms of growing the team and getting other people in here, we're really expanding our expertise and our skills. And, you definitely do have to get to the point where, where you let go and say, I'm not the best person to be doing this job. And I'm really grateful that I had all that time coding, because it means I can inform their decisions on things and help kind of drive the projects and relay things to clients with a lot of knowledge, but I don't need to be the person actually doing that anymore. And then the other thing is, we knew we'd eventually have a family, and I'm actually due to have a baby in about 2 weeks now. So that's been
that was like, I remember when we first started working together that you were like, yeah, me and my husband want to have a family one day. And like, that was kind of this thing. And we would reference back to it like, all right, listen,
right.
If you are going to have kids, like this has got to shift. And, but I don't think you or I, either of us knew that it was going to happen like this year.
Yeah.
So here it is.
Yeah. It was, we had been thinking about it for a little while, and I feel like I was prepping my business for it long before I was actually ready to make that leap. And my husband was kind of like, you ready? Let's, I'm happy to have a kid now. And I was like, I just need to take care of my business and make sure it's in a stable place first. And so I feel like I've been thinking about getting my business to a point where it was more self-sufficient. And whether that means that I needed to like take a trip and disappear for a week and that things wouldn't collapse, or whether we had a baby and I needed to, focus on something else. Like either way, I joke with one of my friends who runs one of our partner design firms, like you should actually pretend that you're having a baby so that you have a deadline to step yourself out of the business, because it's made this like really kind of clear cut necessary line in the sand where I'm going to need to take some time off. I'm going to need to shift the way that I'm involved and the way that I do things. And I've really been working with the team and prepping them moving towards this point. And it's almost like it's kind of this impending moment where everything's going to change, but it's also great to have that established, because it means like, you guys, we have to figure it out by then. And I'm also really interested to see, I think they're really going to realize that they can like step up and take ownership of certain things, and that they have the capacity to run the show without me. And we've been working on this and practicing. So
yeah, they already have so much, right? Like, so you guys have kind of been in this 9 months, like literally what, all of you guys who are watching this right now can't see is that like below the camera, she's got baby bump of this little impending like new part of her family, which is so fun.
Yeah.
And even in the small group coaching program, which for any of you guys who have watched Faith or Dee's episodes yet already, we kind of speak to this, how like Maiya got to be in this small group coaching program with them all this last year, and watch how Faith had just had a baby and has 2 kids at home, and then Dee literally like had a baby while she was like pregnant, and then had the child, and like we didn't have
during our our group, I think in the first maybe 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
And then ironically her baby's name is Maiya, so we get to see Maiya grow up and hear about running a business with a newborn and with a little one, and then also Faith with 2 a little bit older kids, but still little kids. So yeah, that was a big part of it, and in organizing our business to support that.
Like you've been in this prep mode now. And I've just seen, just even from our last few months in the small group coaching program, and you preparing, and, even you being like up there in Tahoe, and just a little bit more, they're building a house up there. And so as you've even been like kind of doing that in this whole prep, and even just, she's been, more tired than usual and all those things,
right.
Like she's fully pregnant. And so I feel like your team is just so rocking and rolling now. Like you really have gotten yourself out of the sticks, and you can totally count on your team in ways like, truly just the last 2-3 months. Yeah. It's completely reorganized itself in a way.
Yeah. And we set up a support ticket system a couple months ago, which has been great. Willow really
That was a
encouraged
big
me
one.
to get.
Maiya was getting all of the support emails from every single client all the time. Like, get out of your inbox. Like, you can't be anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not even the one best equipped to answer a lot of these things anymore. And so we've shifted to this whole support ticket system where I can actually just forward things to support. Our clients get a notification that a ticket's been created and they know that they're being taken care of, but I don't have to actually be the one answering them. And then our team gets a notification, and they've actually been really great about jumping in on things. They all see that there's a new ticket, and they have, it's like they're taking care of me because someone jumps in there within, 12 hours or so and says, yeah, I'll take care of this. And that's been really amazing, because I feel like one of the things that's really important to me is making sure that our team feels well taken care of and inspired by what they're doing and challenged and well compensated and supported and all that stuff. And that's kind of their way of saying, okay, like we can give you a break, and we know that you're busy and you have other things that you're working on. And it's very strange for me to not be working on Mangrove like 8 hours a day straight, but there's been other things that I've needed to put my attention to, and they're kind of like in the background getting stuff done and checking things off. So
right now that I think is really big, and what I think a lot of entrepreneurs feel, and you and I worked on this a lot together, like this is kind of this emotional support piece, which is that you had a lot of guilt initially of like, well, isn't my team just going to think that I'm just like,
abandoning them,
doing nothing, abandoning them, or not lifting your weight, or like they're just, all those like weird fears or guilt things. And it was really like shifting your awareness of seeing what I'm like, hello, you're pulling in these like, contracts that are tens of thousands of dollars, and that you're the one. And this is also like coming back kind of to the 80-20 principle that I am always talking with Maiya about, of like, all right, look at all your clients and how you've gotten these clients, that, it's usually because Maiya has actually gone out and networked, or her whole network that she's had for a long time, and just the integrity and the intelligence that you bring and who you are, that speaks such volumes, that, I think especially in the web and design and development world, we know you and I talked about this a lot, that like, half of it is just that you actually do what you say you're going to do in the timeline. Like you guys are so on it, and you're even more on it now that you've got all this awesome team. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
You've like healed up so much of that. Now you don't have any of that weird guilt. It's like so clear. Everyone has their role. And not only that though, but like your team is, like you said, like taking ownership and actually really like loving their piece of it. Like you're not begging them or asking softly and sweetly, like, hey, do you mind if you could do this? Like, remember you had that way back when, and now you're like, it's like set, and they're a part of the team and they love it. And
yeah. And I think they really enjoy working together as well, which is really neat to see. There, as I've kind of like stepped back and tiptoed out of things more, I've been a little bit more and more hands off, and been like, use each other as resources so that you guys together can figure this out and get it done. And just testing that out more and more as I've prepared to kind of take care of this baby that's coming and be off the grid a little bit. It's going to be really hard for me to be completely detached, but I'm prepping such that they can pretty much run the show for the next 4 to 6 weeks if I go into labor tomorrow, and that things will be okay. And we've had a couple of clients who have complimented us on just like our communication and the way that we run things. And I think that's one of the hardest things running a tech company and running a web development company or creative company is just making sure that your clients know what's going on and their expectations are set, and that the communication is clear. And there's a lot of moving parts with timelines and with different phases of the project and all that. And, I've really stress that with the entire team, that a huge part of what we do not only is delivering really solid work, really high quality design and functional websites and making sure all the pixels are perfect and responsive and all that stuff, but also just making sure that the process is enjoyable for clients and that they're not surprised by that there aren't any surprises on timing or budget, or if things have to shift, that we are able to let them know with enough time for them to sort of process it or make some decisions or kind of readjust. And I think that's like that's something that I've taught, or I've kind of tried to instill in the whole team, and especially some of the more like engineer focused developers, is we can do the work really, really well, but everybody has to be happy with the process too. And I think that's been the hardest thing to like let go of and step out of, and trust that everybody is kind of following suit. But
we talked about that in the beginning too, I think, which is like, you can give a client every single thing you said you were going to, but if they didn't feel good in the process and they didn't feel supported and all that, and you get it, like you said, and it can be such a vulnerable and like intense process for a company to have to step into that, and all that they have to deliver to you, and then the deadlines back and forth, and that they might have, and all of that stuff you're working on, timelines, and especially as you've grown internally, like to not have your clients ever feel or know that you're also like juggling. I think so many, clients are feeling like, oh, I've just gotten tossed out because they now have a new client or whatever. And so the fact that you guys have juggled, 10, 12, 15 projects at a time, but that you're that one client out of those never would feel like they're put to the bottom of the list or that they're not a priority.
Yeah, definitely. And it's, some days it's harder than others, but I think like one of the things that stays true, and especially in our like moving more and more towards working with purpose-driven clients. And, we do have a certain philosophy about the way we choose clients, because we really want to be personally invested in how the project comes out and how they experience it. And I think a lot of the developers, there's been certain times when the developers are like, oh, wow, I went through and I looked through, like I actually took some time to read through the about section or the mission of so-and-so client whose website I'm working on. They do really cool stuff, and those are really cool moments, because we want to be working on projects where we are interested in really furthering whatever it is that this client is doing, and in doing some of the B Corp stuff. And we're writing our annual report right now, where we kind of have reviewed done a similar thing of kind of a spotlight on certain clients and who these people are and what they do. And
because I like forever was just like, can you at least, this is total cobbler's shoes, which is why it was so great to do this, was like, you're doing all this incredible work that nobody knows about it. I knew about it as your coach. Your team knows about it. Your clients know about it. But like the rest of the world had no idea, unless, again, like they like run into you at a dinner party or something. And then they hire you and you have all this word of mouth business. But, you've also over the last 2 years increased your rates. You now have like processes in place. And so before we complete today, I would just love to hear you, kind of speak to, if someone was, I've just like loved, like I said at the beginning, I'm working with you. I love working with all my clients, but, you, especially, I have this like geeky background, which is, I work with just similar to Faith and other folks that are in this like web design world, is because I do have this like total geeky side that I can relate to what it takes. And, so I would just love for you to speak to, if somebody was looking to invest in a business coach, whether they're in your type of business or not, but they are looking to grow, like you've been specifically in this big kind of growth and needing to step in more into, CEO and founder role, what would you say to, about the financial investment and what it's meant for you?
Yeah, I mean, I remember asking you at the beginning, the theory is that you invest in this like business coach support, and that it really helps you to grow your business, and it should ultimately pay for itself, and it's it is a leap of faith no matter what. And I think the most important thing is that you feel like you connect to whoever you're working with. I mean, it's similar to working with a therapist or something. Like, you need to be able to have a certain level of trust and rapport and all of that. One of the things that's like really, that I think most people get out of it is just a certain level of like confidence and emotional support, and also being held accountable for completing certain actions. And so, as entrepreneurs, we don't really always have someone telling us, okay, make sure to prioritize that thing. Let me know in a week or two how that's going. Or, what are you going to commit to? Are you, when, I remember Willow very specifically saying, okay, so when is your website going to be done? Or when are you going to get your first draft of your like B Corp assessment done? Or, and it's really easy to kind of cop out on your own deadlines for stuff like that. And I've had certain times where I've asked my team to sort of make sure that we move towards something, but it's different when there's someone who, you're paying for the time, that I'm investing in my connection with Willow and in her support of my business. And so I need to make the most of it. And if I'm not getting the things done that I say I'm going to do, and I mean, like there's definitely times when, when that didn't happen, but there was always a follow-up of, okay, well, what are we going to do to kind of make this happen or drive this process forward next, or what's reasonable to do next? And so I think a big part of it is like, as an entrepreneur, you don't always have someone who's like looking out for you and who's got your back and who's making sure that you are not only doing the things to keep driving your business forward, but that you're doing the things to make sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you're staying healthy and you're sleeping and you're feeling good about where you are in your business, and that you're hiring people so that you're not stuck doing 13 different jobs. And
that people who aren't a good fit.
Yeah.
And it's times over the last few years as well.
Yeah, exactly. And so, what you get out of the investment is there's certainly, we've certainly gone after different projects and clients and maybe like gain confidence in speaking about our business in a certain way, or maybe our new website has really driven us to close certain projects, or just like our team growing has supported us in getting new projects and contracts, or there's all these different components. And a lot of times I feel like I was kind of moving in that direction, but just having someone to say, all right, yeah, that's something that you need to focus on, and that needs to happen next. And you need to make sure that you have another assistant, because, by the time you really, really need to, so you need to make sure that you find someone now. And just having that like checkpoint has been a little bit of a kick, and also the support of just bouncing ideas off of someone who's not working for me and who's not my husband or my mom or someone who knows the business, but Willow's you're able to put your own experience into it, and also know what I'm doing pretty well to kind of keep driving me forward, which has been really helpful.
Nice. Well, I'm super excited to work with you again after you go through having your baby and ready to dive back in. That'll be so fun. Well, this is all the time we have, but I just have loved that you have shared so much here for anyone who is on this growth path and, or who wants to start a family and needs to know that they can build a business that can actually support them and grow sustainably, which is so huge. I mean, you are so far from the days that you were working just insane hours. And that is a huge testament to all the work you've done as a business owner and, this like your own becoming and stepping into leadership. And it's just huge. I mean, to me, it's like not the least of which is going from, 4 people to now this huge team of 8 or 9 people. And the fact that you can actually go on maternity leave and know and feel confident that you're taken care of. Like, how cool. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, it's great. I'm really excited to introduce you.
Yeah.
It's this little critter, and we can have a non-mangrove call to say hi while I'm stepping out of work and know that everything else will be handled.
I know. Countdown is on. All right, sweetheart. Thank you so much for joining us. And for everyone watching, thank you again for being here and joining us. And we look forward to seeing you on the next one.
All right. Thanks, Willow. Have a good one.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, be sure to subscribe and share it with your friends. To learn all about the work I do with visionary entrepreneurs around the world and to access more inspiring videos and helpful resources for you on your path, be sure to visit willowlovesyou.com.